being instinctively a Christian, I think that was one of those moments. I'm like, I did not even speak.
Spirit's there.
Yeah.
On that bombshell, we might leave it at that for this episode. And next episode, we might find out if you are ready for life.
Yes.
Ready for life.
Welcome back to the Team Lunch podcast. We're here back with Luka for part 2.
Part deux.
Dos?
Deux. Yeah, dos.
Dos,
Deux.
What's do from? What language is that?
It's French, isn't it? Un, deux.
Oh, it is.
Oh, I
Yeah,
thought it was like
The only
Dora
re-
the Explorer. Like Spanish. That's where my brain
Oh,
went.
no, Spanish is dos.
Dos,
Isn't it?
yeah, the only reason I
Uno,
know
dos, tres.
the French alphabet is because in high school,
Oui.
the way we learnt it was there's this song on YouTube, and it's like a Jamaican worm
Sorry,
counting.
what?
It's just a Jamaican worm, and it's like in like random places, and like
Yeah, man.
I think it's Shaky Maracas. Actually,
Oh,
wait,
wait,
maybe
no,
it's
didn't
not
know that.
Shaky
I was-
Maracas because it doesn't have arms. But it's got a Jamaican like the headband and like the dread, not the headband, the like beanie thing, and then the
Yeah, yeah,
dreads, and
yeah,
it's
man.
like ons dos trois.
Why is he Jamaican? But then
Catch those cans.
why is he speaking
Dizzy
French?
fa. Yeah, that's. I don't
That's
even know.
awesome.
I don't
That is
even know if I
great.
got that right.
You're gonna
but-
need to put that on the video. Oh, that's so funny.
Oh, that is funny.
That's awesome.
Before we kick
Yeah,
off-
man. We're going to France.
no accents, no accents.
Well, no accents, man. Come on.
Before we kick off this episode,
Yes.
we're going to give a shout out to some youth girls. As I think this is also pretty cool because me and Luke have been leading. It's our first year.
First full year.
First full year together, which I
Yeah.
think we'll
Sick.
get into
Yeah,
a lot
yeah.
more with Luka.
We've got some fans over
But
here.
we fangirls, we've made it.
Chip lunch, chip
we
lunch
have made it.
fans.
Chip lunch,
Yeah,
chip
Chip lunch
fangirls. Sophie and Jess, they say they watch every single video and they love
Every
them.
single one.
That's impressive.
Except when I had put
Thank you.
a text on saying, like shouting them out, they didn't see that. And I was like,
Ooh.
girls,
Ooh,
come on.
exposed.
But when I did show them, they were ecstatic and screaming like they were at a Taylor Swift concert. So
Goodness me.
that's
a fun.
I think that's good feat to reach.
I think we just need to stop doing the podcast.
Yeah.
This
we
is
have made
the
it.
actual end.
That's our
the
peak.
final-
We have
final.
peaked.
Yeah.
final episode.
Yeah, right. How'd you go with that intro? You feel good about yourself or you?
Right now
What
I
would you
feel
rate
like
it?
it's all right.
Yeah.
But when I look back
when
at
you
it,
edit
it
it-
could.
Yeah,
I would be
true.
like,
That's fine.
we'll see how we
A
go.
little voiceover.
Yeah, maybe a voiceover. I would give it a 6.5. There's definite room for improvement.
out of 20.
Yeah, nice.
6.5 out of 10. Is that right?
I'm going out of 10.
I'd rate it higher. I reckon
Yeah,
it's probably
yeah.
a 7. I'll give it 7.
I think
seven, 7.5.
Seven.
Have you seen Dave Portnoy's pizza reviews? No. So Dave Portnoy is the guy that started Barstool Sports.
Oh yes.
And he
I've
does
seen him.
pizza reviews all around like New York and
this sounds
and Boston
interesting.
and stuff.
Yeah.
But he does he rates on the cruise like one bite, one taste. Like he's been doing it for ages, right?
Yeah.
And it's like it's a one thing that kind of added to their rise as a company. And he gives things like, I'm going to give that a 7.2. Like he goes really decimal into rating stuff, and then he rates the crust and how the cheeses and all that kind of stuff. He's like, I need a crusty base, stuff like that. But yeah, his rule is he's only rate it I get a whole pizza and then one bite. But there's videos of him getting into arguments with people about
I've seen those.
or they seem so because Barstool can be a controversial
Yes.
publication.
Yes.
A publication or website or company, whatever you want to call it. But he's people are like, you suck, and he just starts yelling back at him and stuff. It's in the middle of a pizza review. Anyway, yeah, it's pretty cool. We're back here with Luka for the table.
Yeah.
For the table.
Luka is for the table. He's for everyone. And but we also have him for us right now.
Yes.
We are indulging.
We
We left off at a sex camp.
Yes, we did. Yeah.
Sex, and we need to insert sex ed camp.
Ed camp.
Ed
Yes.
camp,
For school.
right. Yeah, that's
for
good.
school,
For
for
school.
the table. And It was for the table, wasn't it? The sex tape game, goodness. And so that's kind of towards the end of high school.
Yep.
I want to ask you about like just finishing up in high school.
Yeah.
Because the reason I'm asking is it's something that like, we've been talking about on the Shock Absorber is in not just church, in life, a lot of the time there's this inbuilt transience, especially with school and stuff. So you, even in high school, or primary school, you're moving up a year, different teacher a lot of the time. High school, you have different teachers every day. So sometimes that plays out in church as well. Kids are taught, or youth are taught, like, oh, you're going to move on, your leader's going to move on, there's no point digging in. That's something we've even talked about with Hudson's podcast of committing a lot. So I want to know what you're like at this time now. You're still running the Christian group. How did you go with HSC and all that stuff and coming out of school as a Christian?
I think my experience is very unique in the way that my year 12 was 2020.
No.
So
What a year.
most of my HSC experience was for like half the year, you might not have a HSC.
Yeah.
You might not do your
You just
exams.
didn't know, yeah.
We were like, oh, that's just a thing that we have to kind of, you're studying for exams that may not happen. That was really my year 12.
Well, and speaking of like transients,
Yeah.
it's like, well, is it going to happen or not?
Exactly,
So
yeah.
how do I commit to it?
Exactly. So like, I think that was hard because I was like, just studying for this thing and don't know what's happening, and you know the motivation to get up and study for things that again might not happen. I think that was really hard. I think year 12 was good. I did well in my eventual exams that did happen, as well as I was proud of my result, so that was good.
That's good.
I'd also had early entry into Wollongong by that point.
Locked in.
Kind of, I was locked in, knew what I was doing. But yeah, I kind of, year 12 was hard because it's like everything, the whole world was very different. And everyone had their own experience of COVID, I think it's probably safe to say. And having to concentrate on trying to get the best out of your HSC when you know you're stuck at home and you can't really do anything, and I think that was hard because like let's say if you were in the younger years you could kind of bludge at home and be fine, right? I couldn't really do that for my HSC. Like I had a software major project, I had to build a software thing and do all that sort of stuff, and I like worked out well. But yeah, that was difficult, I think. And then like moving into uni also during the second lockdown was hard because everything was online. I think that was harder because uni is supposed to be about meeting new people. And as I mentioned before, just trying to find just meeting people online, and they exist. That's probably out as far as that goes. Like actually it's funny, I'm in my 5th year of uni now, I think maybe 5th or 4th year of uni, 4th, and I've done my first in-person exam in an exam hall this week.
Wow, this week?
Yeah.
How'd you find that?
Super weird, which is wild because that's what everyone does, but that was just like, because computer science, you can do everything online. I literally was sat in the exam hall with my laptop doing the exam. Yeah.
Wow.
So I haven't done an in-paper exam at university on paper.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's just like very different to what maybe I expected, or maybe I did expect it. I don't know. But kind of going, that transition was hard. I think in church-wise was hard as well. Yeah. Because there was a period there where I wasn't going to church. Kind of post 2021, post lockdown. I think
That would be my observation too.
Yes.
And not to judge.
Yeah,
you or
no, I
anything,
know. I think the hard bit was I kind of went through all this stuff with, COVID and all that sort of stuff. Suddenly the world's opened up again and you can do things with your mates, right? And you can do stuff with people.
Which you didn't have.
which I didn't have before,
Yep.
and for a while. I also think there was a period there where all I ever knew was being a Christian, and suddenly, I think on Zach McCall's podcast, he said something really good. He said that suddenly he wanted to see what the world was, and like search for something, I guess. And I think I kind of went through when he mentioned it, I was like, that's kind of exactly how it happened for me. I think it was a period of about a year and a half where I wasn't really going to church, and I think I was searching for something that I didn't really know what. But I think the interesting part is when you're searching for something that isn't God, God eventually reveals himself.
Wow.
And, you know, who would have thought?
That's a good line.
And I think when I was searching for that, I couldn't really, you know, I was just hanging out with my mates, and I was like just a bit like, I don't know what I'm doing. And actually, Jake,
a bit lost.
a bit lost,
Yeah.
a bit lost, I think is the best way to describe it. And I remember Jake Young, who I was really close with a youth group and late night and stuff, and he was like, when you come back. And I was like, I ran out of excuses, right? And you kind of just go, yeah, I'll be back. And he was really paramount to me, like refocusing. I was going, oh yeah, I'll come back to church. And I came back to church and for a little bit, and I distinctly remember it was a week away. One of the years, I can't remember. Was a week away where I wasn't going to go, right? I was like, oh, I haven't been to church in ages, like a year, right? Or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I'll go because parents are going. Sure, it was fun. Like, I haven't seen people in ages, but I'll go anyway. And I remember having dinner with Greaves, just like sat down with Greaves, and Greaves was like, I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing, blah, 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 blah. I feel this, and feel this way, I feel this way, I feel this way. Greaves goes, everything you just said is literally like what most people go through after high school. And that single bit there was exactly what I needed to hear.
The ready for life moment.
Right, yes, yeah. And at that point, I went, all right, we're doing this. And then I was back at church, and I felt closer to God than I ever had. I think hearing the kind of... So I was not going to church for me. I was going because my mates were going, right? And suddenly that wasn't happening. So my close mates, we're now not hanging out at church. They're hanging out with my other mates, who I'm also now hanging out with, right? So, and he went, yeah, that's a lot. That happens to a lot of people. I went, oh, really? Like, I thought this is just how I...
Happened to me and him.
Yeah. Yeah. So hearing that was like one of the best things that could have happened, because I was just like, I didn't know how to feel about what I was doing. Like, I just kind of like, church became here on the priority list to like other stuff that was happening, you know, mates going out. And I think that just going, yeah, that's happens to a lot of people, was just like, oh yeah, cool. I'm not like unique, or I haven't just done a stupid thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not, I wasn't unique in that situation, which I think I needed to hear, because I didn't understand what was happening. Of like, not that I didn't understand what's happening. I didn't know, like, I thought that I was unique in that situation, which, thinking back, it happens to a lot of people. But
Yeah, it does.
I think when you kind of get caught up in that whole thing, and I think also I was a bit worried about what people would think when I come back, which...
Where have you been?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And which I will say, if anyone is thinking that way, we just want to hang out with you. People don't actually care. I think I got caught up in my head about what people think when I come back.
Yeah.
I come back and we're all mates. was like, okay, cool. Like, it was really exactly what it was. It was like nothing happened, right? And I think if anyone is going through that and like worried about coming back to church, I think that's just like, just come back and hang.
Just be like, so good you're here.
Yeah, literally. Like, oh yeah. People, I think I found that people actually, it's not, people just happy to be with you and not just like anything more than that. It's just, you know what I mean? Like, I think that was a big thing for me to go, oh yeah, people just want to hang out. Like, and people just happy you're there. Like, it's not anything more than that, which I think was really helpful. I do credit Greaves for his great wisdom.
For his grisdom.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. No, like, it's funny you think about that. It's that maybe, I don't know if we talk about it enough, about when we finish high school. There isn't a question of identity again. It's kind of like, I decide who I'm going to be. Like you talk about, your experience of being a kick and deciding I'm definitely believe this. And then but within the high school context, you've done it.
Yeah.
But then,
Suddenly.
but it's also like high school is just like it's all you know.
Yeah.
It's all you think is important.
Yeah, I know.
Like I was at my kids' presentation day this week, and like they're all taking photos and stuff, like especially the year sixes because they're finishing primary school. Yeah. And you think that's such an important moment in your life.
Yeah.
And then I think back in that, for me, it's like, I don't even remember much about my day on year six, like hardly anything about it. But for them, like you don't know any different.
Yeah.
So you've got to deal with this, and it's like it's a theme of your episodes, isn't it? Of something being taken away, like what's your foundation? What are you going to rely on? And every time you've realised it's God. Yeah, it might take a while or whatever, but every time you've realised it's God. Yeah. But I wonder if it's like, and it's even something you've talked about before, Hudson, is that I wonder what it's like for people that don't even know God. Yeah, you know.
Oh. Yeah.
And I think, like, I went through this whole thing as well, even when I was in 12. I didn't start youth leading until 2 years after finishing high school. Yeah, which we're quite similar in that. But so, what were you going to say, Hudson?
No, I think just viewing my non-Christian friends, I think I've seen some like definite
real questioning.
Like questioning what. Yeah. I think with my immediate friends, they're pretty good at, they've been pretty good at dealing with that. And then
that's good.
Like looking at each other and being like, oh, like I kind of like see like what they're doing right now. I want to like kind of emulate that in my own way. But in the broader circle, I think there's like definite like a crisis of like, oh, like what do I do?
Because there's this pressure to do really well in the HSC or whatever, and then they've done it, and you're like, oh. Also, now you must like. I mean, a big thing. I don't know if it's as much with you guys. A big thing when I was finishing high school was like go traveling for a year, and then come back and do uni. Which I took a year off, and I didn't really travel. So I worked, but the interesting thing is that those people are now like, well, what do I do? Because it's almost like we talk about being ready for life, but it's almost like the parents, maybe the parents have been just like, just finish high school and then you're fine. Yeah. But it's not, right? It's like, it's a big, like you're saying, it's a big crisis moment to go, oh, what do I do now? What am I going to do? And then I go to uni, and then what do I do? I feel like work full time. Like it's all, you get through it, but interestingly, that your experience, Luka, was initially moving away from that because of being unsure about it, but then going, I actually need to be in a Christian context way more often because this will help me with it.
And I think, that exactly. And I think also like going to people like Dan Rigger, who's at this church, he was really helpful as well because he will just tell you things bluntly. So he was really helpful.
Just like Greaves did.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, sometimes you need that to be like, this has happened to you. It's fine, but this is how you fix this. Yeah.
Well, I feel like you would respond reasonably well to that too. Yep.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, sick. Like, back to my logic brain, yes or no. Yep. Yes, cool. All right, I'll do this. Yep, sick. Yeah. And that was really, I think liberating is the right word, as I said before. Like just going, cool, this happened. Let's not this happen again. Let's reshape our brain to, all right, church is the most important thing we do. You do. Yep. Bible study, important. And late night, right? Make sure you're at the late night thing after church. cool. All right, it's the 3 things we're doing in the week, and then we work around that. And then suddenly shaping that as we're doing that, it becomes habit, it becomes the thing you want to do, you're looking forward to do, and it kind of snowballs from there.
Absolutely.
I think having that strict going, all right, we're going to church every Saturday, we're going to late night, having that, and then, you know, that's your foundation. You talk about foundation. All right, we're doing this.
Yep.
You kind of re-strengthen these friendships you have around. You want to do it more. You can kind of go from there. And yeah, I think and then obviously later that year, and also I think having the context of being a Christian my whole entire life and diving back into that was really helpful as well. To be like, actually everything makes, like, I think reshaping, so diving back into church was super easy because I'd had 20 years of Christian experience. So I think that was really helpful. And obviously going into youth group and doing youth leading.
Can I just, before I ask you that,
Yeah.
just before you talk about that, sorry. One question I have though is, you spoke about COVID a fair bit. I'm interested to get both your guys' experience about how you think that has shaped you, because there seems to be, and this is an observation, there seems to be a lot of crew around your age going, I've missed out on something, so I need to overcorrect and experience that more before committing to church. Do you think that's true?
I think at the time, yes, definitely. I think at that time,
Like just coming out of the second lockdown.
Coming out of the second lockdown, I felt like I needed to spend every Saturday night with my mates that I've been able to do. Suddenly, you know, I can go to a Sharks game on a Saturday night because the Sharks games they're playing. I think, there was a bit of overcorrection there.
Or just like a desire to increase the intensity of,
exactly,
because it was missed out.
Yeah. And like, I think, also because COVID happened at such a already quite crazy a point in my life where I'm going from school to no school.
Which is a huge transition.
Yeah. It became that experience was very unique to myself, which meant that people around didn't also have that experience prior. So I couldn't look to other people for that exact, you know, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, something about university, right? People go, oh yeah, you go to class and meet people. I was on a Zoom call with 200 people. And like, it's just like completely different, right? And you just like randomly DM people on the Zoom and start talking to them and like, you know, hanging out, play video games with them. That's my experience with hanging out people at uni.
Yeah, that's very different.
So that was like hard. And then like being able to go out in lockdown and go, I can talk to people now face to face. And, you know, and then suddenly, I think also knowing that church was always there
to come back to
also kind of worked in the inverse, which is I can always go back to it. I need the overcorrection. But the problem was that was the case, and then all of a sudden you don't go to church for a while and it doesn't become a part of your life. So that doesn't become, you know what I'm saying? Like you drift away basically.
Yeah.
So I think being careful with how you do that kind of separation and go, you can, you know, take a couple, you can go to that Sharks game 1 week and, you know, miss the service. But if you're doing that 3 weeks in a row, you know, make sure you're committing to that, and it doesn't become an extra thing. Everything, that was what Jake told me on the way home from uni, because we used to carpool. He went, is there always something, isn't there, Luka? And I'm like, yeah, there is. And it was one of those moments where I'm like, interesting. Yeah, like it was just like, he's right. I don't want him to be right. So, yeah, I think, that's kind of, I think COVID definitely shaped that
need
to do something.
Yeah. Hudson, do you want to weigh in on the COVID?
Well, I think I was just thinking about this now because I think I've already talked a bit about like what my because we're 3 years apart.
Yeah.
What my cohort and I have like been through COVID, but I feel like we feel younger than we are because we've messed like two years, and now we're thrown in like we're supposed to be 2 years older than we are. Like, I feel
2 years ahead of you, kind
Yeah.
of what your experience would usually be.
Yeah, like
okay.
we've like there's I'm pretty sure I've said this before. There's like a 2/1 year blank on the timeline. Like I did nothing for that year. I haven't like there's a whole like year of experience that I haven't got, and now I've been thrown like a year ahead that I shouldn't be at. I know that doesn't specifically relate to church, but
That's all right.
and I think there's something that I've been blessed with, even though I still feel like I've been jumped ahead a bit, that I've been thrown into a bunch of like positions where I am the adult in the situation with youth and stuff, where I guess it kind of balances out a lot better than like someone who's not doing what I'm doing. Like I've kind of like, because I've been taking on a lot of responsibility, I've had to like kind of make it up and then look at people around, like adults around me, and then been like, okay, this is like what I've missed out on and stuff.
That's really cool. I remember, it's funny you say about the age thing. I was 20 and someone asked me how old you are, and I said 17 confidently. 3 years off. And just like, not even, my brain did not comprehend what I just said. And I went, oh crap, no, I'm not that. Like, I know what you mean by the whole age thing. Like, you just, 2 years of your life, just like completely lost. Like, I think that's really hard.
Is that how you feel? Like it's 2 years of your life lost?
I think...
Or people can take it that
way. Yeah, I think time, like I talk about physics nerd, time dilation, that's kind of a bit of a joke, but like there is like kind of that weird, I think the time in that period felt shorter, therefore you kind of feel like you didn't experience that. I don't know. Well, I don't know. What do you think, Hudson? Like, I think there's such formative years of our life. I think you're also seeing it with the younger as well. Like, there's some years there that maybe missed, like, you know.
It's just a social interaction,
Exactly,
really, isn't
yeah.
it? It's like, so that's the most, I think that's the most informative part. It's actually just being in the presence of each other and not being able to have it then. Well, but you still need to do your school. And you still need to do all that stuff. I think that's where, strong.
Yeah.
Did you want to say anything more on?
No, I agree with.
You agree?
Yeah, I agree.
Agree. It's for the table.
It's for the table. Their opinion is for the table.
This opinion is for the table. Let's talk about youth leading though. So you talk about that time a week away where you're talking to Greaves, got the Grisdom.
Yes.
And where you said, no, this is actually what I should be doing. And then you said, as you said, you were going to church, Bible study late night, and you're going, oh, this is what I should be doing. How did that lead to youth leading then?
So Jake was like going, you should do youth leading. And I said to myself, I want to be at church and late night for 3 terms before or like 2 terms or whatever. It was like I gave myself a period where I'm like, I need to commit to this.
Is that to prove yourself?
No. Well, no, it was just I wouldn't say goal, but it was in my brain. I said, I want to not think about youth group and doing more stuff. I want to commit to... Basically, I didn't want to overload myself with stuff. Secondly, I felt in myself that I needed to be at church, be at late night, and be at Bible study every week for my own... I'd say faith's not the right word, but for my own experience as a Christian, to prove to myself is not the right word, but I wanted to make sure I did that for myself before I started taking on other ministries, I guess is probably the other thing. Okay. And then did that, and I asked sat down with Braden and Ethan, I think it was, and Greaves, and I was like, I would like to do this. blah, blah, blah. I said, yeah, cool. And I joined one random week in term 4 and it was I remember it was a trivia night, and because I'd led the current, they were year 9 but year 10 that term, that the year 11s, well, the ones that just joined late night, so that crew, they doing the trivia night. Anyway, I led them in Fuse, right? Back in high school, and so I knew them. Anyway, it was trivia night, and I basically didn't really know anyone, right, other than those guys. Anyway, from across the room, they were finding groups, and Micaiah screams, "Luke, you're in our team." My first night as a youth leader, and I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." So sick. So I joined that group, which was really cool because it's not often the youth make the youth leader feel welcome, but I was like, "Oh, okay, sick. This is something I want to do." So that was a cool moment. But yeah, so then youth group's pretty awesome. I love it. It's very rewarding, which I think surprised me actually. How kind of I don't know about you, Hudson, but I enjoy it. We kind of joined at a similar. Well, we kind of joined at the similar time. You two before me, but
yeah. When was
I think
this,
term 4 last year.
Yeah, so it would have been when I'd just come back.
Yeah.
From having a break, and then been thrown into we got put into, because I was with the group beforehand, and so the idea is that you go and stay with a group for the whole time. Yep. And because I'd been absent, I joined back, and we'd got a bunch of New Year 6s, which is Nate's year and a couple other people. I was going to say rat bags, but they're all right.
They're lovely.
No, they are lovely on their day.
Yeah.
But what was I saying? Yeah. So I got put with
we kind of took the same year.
Yeah. So we got put with the same year, and I think it's been super cool being able to lead same thing with Tom. A bit different because a bit older, but I think it's amazing because I think we'd already talked at late night and at church and stuff and week away, but leading, you get a whole other side of someone.
100%, and 100%.
Same thing with Tom, being able to grow so much closer, and then also lead and bounce off each other has been super cool.
Yeah, I think because I knew Tom, I did light leading for a little while in high school, so I knew Tom and you kind of through that.
Yeah.
But I think leading is a completely different kettle of fish. It's awesome. Those boys are lovely, but psycho, but lovely. It's very...
But the thing is, you do it, that you forge these amazing relationships with each other because you're serving together for so long. But it's not about you.
No.
That's the thing, you're serving. And yes, it can be tough, but you're to see them start growing up, at least, all the boys that I led at youth, none of them are Christians. And I think part of that reason was because we actually left our church.
Oh, yeah, true.
Towards the end of that, at a very transitional time, year 11 for them as well. But the friendships that you forge with people after that that's just we like to say we're going to hang out as friends, and then whatever kids God brings, that's awesome. We'll tell them about the Bible.
Yeah.
And hang out with them. That's what's really cool about it. And I think, but they see that. And you might have got to experience it at some point, but because of different things of us being a church plant and stuff, you may have not got the full thing that I got, for example. Because I had Jai, Chris Stevens, and a guy called Jimmy Archer, who were my leaders. But they'd been there since year 7, but I only started coming in year 9. But they're at least 2 of them are really, really close friends now. And that was because they were my leaders, and they were 5, 6, 7 years older than me. So I think something that you don't see when you're youth leading and when you lead from that year 7 to year 6 to year 10 thing is that they see you as, we talked about that, as transitional times and transients, and you've got to change years and everything. They see you as a real stable presence in their lives. And I think that might be what you're talking about partly with the rewarding part is.
it was very cool because I've recently moved to Ingadine High for my job.
Yeah.
Some of the boys, a couple of the boys that in our year go to Ingadine High.
Okay, cool.
And I was there, and I hear yelling from across the playground, like, Luka, 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 and like running over and saying hello. And that was cool.
That's so
like,
cool.
It's just like, you know, in their perspective, all their mates are like, what they know this teacher guy.
So
Like,
talking to the old guy.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's pretty cool. I find it very very rewarding. Yeah, I think also the idea of I'm leading with my old leaders, like Braden, Ethan, and Jake and all that. It's just like the coolest thing ever. Like when I did my first youth talk, and I got up there, and I had this weird, like, and I'm assuming it happens all the time with solis, but this like really cool moment where I was looking at the people that taught me the Bible for 6 years, and I'm about to do it to the other youth where I was sitting with them.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. Like I locked eyes with Ethan, and I'm like, wow, it's really cool. He's sitting there beaming, smile, waiting for me to do it. I just took a moment. I was like, this is very cool.
Yeah. That generational thing is amazing.
Yeah.
Because we've got now, Ted was on the podcast recently, and he came to our community group when he must have been like 12 or something when he came, or something like that. Yeah, but then I used to go to Bible study at Hudson's parents' place.
Oh yeah.
So I held Hudson as a baby at that Bible study. And now he's this old guy editing not my podcast, the podcast that I'm on. Our podcast is for the table. And so, so cool. It's amazing. And then, like we talked about Fee before we started the podcast, and like she's the first person that told me the gospel in year 7.
Wow. Yes.
I've been friends with Stu for 20 plus years. Yeah. And Jai as well. Like, that's
that is wild. Especially like obviously Fee's one of the youth leaders.
She's still doing it, legend.
Yeah, and just like she was watching me beaming. I have this. Jai's taught me this thing when I'm doing the thing where I look at Fee when I'm doing my talks.
That's what Jai says.
And Fee's like, why have I become this person? It's like I'm just so fun.
Because everyone else is like deadpan, and she's like encouraging you.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Although when she pulls up.
You have to be careful though. She'll pull you up. And go, oh.
She's the best. I remember like I didn't really know Fee for a little while at late night, and then I sat down with her just randomly. You know when you're like talking to a group and then other people leave and you're just talking to this person? It's kind of what happened. And I didn't really know Fee. I think like 5 hours later at late, like we ended up at like 1:30 in the morning and was just chatting, like just another person at late night. But
that's Fee's superpower.
Yeah, literally like.
She's so good.
Oh, awesome. She's the best. Very cool.
Yeah, it's been really sick to hear how you like are just like, it's very similar to Hudson's stories that he's told. He's like moving away and then go, hang on.
No.
This is what I really should be doing.
I'm hearing a bunch of parallels, like deja vu, like, oh my goodness. I literally sat there and said that same thing.
Again, this is like, I like it also when you're saying that this is why we do the podcast, is because you were saying if anyone's feeling worried about going back to church, don't, because that's what I've done.
Yeah.
And even similar, like Greaves telling you, everything you've just said is what lots of people have gone through. Like, this is why we do it. We get so self-centered sometimes. Like, honestly, I'm the only one that feels like this.
Yeah.
And it really isn't true. Like,
and in just Greaves' bluntness. And just like, but in a loving bluntness was the best thing I needed. Like, honestly, it was just like, like, what are you doing? Like, And it was, I'll remember that conversation for a long time, actually. Awesome. Because what it was this youth leader I had for years that has loved me for ages telling you, what are you doing? Let's figure this out. I think it's just the coolest thing ever.
Which again is why we do go intergenerational as much as we can too, because it's like he can tell you that because he's been through it.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though he's 50 years older than you.
Yeah.
Like that's what is really cool about it. I want to ask you the final question though.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's going to be a lot in this, which is great. What you like look back over the reasonably short life, we talked about COVID and just being like a little anxious boy and then changing that totally, and how God's like worked through so many different things in your life to help you commit. What would you tell your younger Christian self?
Yeah.
That you know now?
Yeah, I think God's there. He doesn't
go anywhere.
He doesn't go
Yeah,
anywhere.
yeah.
And I think just trust God. Like, I think, I know, which is so, like, it's not nothing profound, but I think, like, figuring out yourself and putting your anxieties onto God was something I would have loved to have done more as a kid. I think, and be trusting that what's happening is with God. And I think that's probably what I would tell. And actually also just enjoy being a Christian. Enjoy the relationships. And have fun with it. Like, I think because, like, you do it every week, well, especially when the kid, like, you go to Sunday school every week. It's kind of not a chore is not the right word, but, like, that's the thing you do as a family on a Sunday or a Saturday
like
night.
just this, like the seriousness of it.
Yeah,
as well?
and I'm like, just enjoy, reading the Bible and reading the awesome things of Jesus and all that, so these cool history things that happen in history, and, like, literally a book about history, and just have fun with that. I think would be something I'd say, especially in the time of when all that stuff was happening at the lunchtime group, where people were getting really argumentative. I'd probably tell him, just enjoy the Bible and have fun with it and read it, and don't get caught up with what they're saying, and just have fun with it and then read it. And then once you have that, you can then go deeper. But I think the problem I had was I was going straight to the hearing these arguments, and I'm like, I don't understand why this is, you know what I mean? Like, I don't understand why they're arguing lots of stuff, and it became kind of a bit all over the place. But I think if you go in reading the Bible with it, there's a joy to it. I think it kind of brings everything into context and together.
Okay.
That would be what I'd say. Just enjoy it, and kind of bring over your anxieties to God would be probably my two, like, things I'd say. Yeah.
More joy.
More joy.
I like that. That's cool. Are you feeling joyful right now, Hudson?
Well, it's Christmas time. Almost.
It is true. Yeah.
Very, very joyful.
I'm not sure when this comes out, but
Yeah. Oh, it'll come out before Christmas.
oh, okay.
Will it?
Yeah.
3 weeks' time.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, this part will be 3 weeks' time. So when will that
There
be?
you go. Oh, leading up
That's-
running straight into Christmas.
Straight in Christmas.
Have you enjoyed having Hudson on the podcast? Have you
I've
enjoyed? No, sorry.
Have you
Luka,
enjoyed me
Have you
having
enjoyed
me on the
having
podcast?
Hudson on the podcast?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
It's
good.
been awesome.
Yeah.
Hudson,
I'm gonna
have you
pass.
enjoyed having Luka on the podcast?
Yeah, like, again, same thing with Tom. I think it's cool to have a fellow youth leader that, even though you're a bit older, like, pretty much started
Went
back
the
at the
same
same
thing.
time,
Yeah.
and being like that connection of, like, having with youth, and then hearing, like, I've got, like, this bit, but I don't have, like, all of this bit. So hearing all of that bit has been super cool, and hearing your story, and also the like deja vu of, like, oh my goodness, I went through that too.
Yeah.
It's super cool.
Yeah, it's interesting that COVID piece. I think that we need to delve into that a bit more and just to help people through that. And as I think about, like, having some of the guys of your age, around your age, in our community group now too, I think that's a big part of it. That we kind of might be a big elephant in the room that we need to kind of talk about. But it's been so cool having you on the podcast. I'm glad we were able to do your own episode.
Yeah.
2 episodes?
Yeah, 2 episodes. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah. Wow. I didn't think it was going to go
No,
that
neither.
long, but I'm really
Neither
glad
I.
it did.
No.
But yeah, I think your example, and again, I'm referencing Hudson as well, like the commitment, and then seeing what you're doing since then has been sick. Like you said, like doing a youth talk, like absolutely on fire for God, and setting an example for the boys that you're leading, and also for other people at church. Like, watch what happens when you commit. Like, that's what the the thing is, and you know that commitment is like a big part of soul revival. Is
Mm.
like commit hard for the Lord.
Oh,
like
yeah.
watch what happens. I think is your story, and as we say, these are stories of Jesus changing everything. Is very much rooted in the fact that like you know the gospel, and you may have strayed a little bit from it occasionally, but God is continuing. Like you are allowing God to continue to work in your life, and that's the encouragement that I've got out of this podcast today.
You.
So, thank you very much. I think the lesson is that God is for the table
For the table.
everyone, right?
For everyone, yeah.
For the table. But thanks for being on.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks for having
Hudson,
me.
for being on.
Appreciate
It's been
it. Thanks, Hudson.
fantastic.
You're
Thank you for
welcome.
editing this as well.
Oh,
Yeah,
you're welcome.
You're welcome.
Future.
And you're welcome, everyone who's been listening and watching.
Yes.
I hope you've enjoyed dining at the table with us over these 2 episodes with Hudson and Luka.
Yes.
And we're going to wrap this up. But make sure you have a chat with Luka if you haven't.
Yeah.
This is
Would
another
love
thing that
to.
we do on Chip Lunch is that people listen to it and then go, oh, I know heaps more about that
Yeah.
person. I can go talk to them.
Yeah, true.
And they can have the confidence to go talk to people like we were talking about before.
Yeah.
But it's been awesome. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
And we'll finish with one way. Time to wrap up the chips. And now we finish with a one way.